Hello there. Next installment of the PrintShift install. We're going to put the drive system on so we can drive the belt. We're not going to wire it up this time. That's the next step. But basically we're going to install the motor, put it in place, and go over the parts that exist on the back of the machine. The ejection part of a belt printer. In case you haven't been following, check out the other videos, but this is a Prusa Mini with a conveyor belt that can eject parts and print continuously. Alright, so this is the rear motor standoff. Should know how that it goes. There we go. We're reusing, show you what we're doing. These two screws go directly into aluminum extrusion. We're also going to use this little guy as a little support for the Pi. These two holes are to add a Raspberry Pi back here. So this is going to extend the motor back, and we're going to mount the rear motor bracket here. The motor mounts into this little pocket, and the large hole is for all the hardware that actually drives the belt. So we're using a pulley, two flange bearings, and a small 8mm drive shaft. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is actually remove this guy, install the tiny Pi support. We're reusing the same screw for this install, so it's really just take the screw out, stick it on there, put it back in. What we do need to get rid of this is our split, this is what a spider is. It connects the two halves of this coupler. For PrintShift, we're using what I've been calling a split spider, where half goes on this side, the other half goes on this side. And they should be able to couple and drive each other. Alright, so first, let's get this shaft installed. The shaft should not stick out on this side, so let's put this side on first. And this is just a clamp. Should be pretty good and tight. Flange coupler goes on there. This will be mounting the motor hollow on the inside, and this obviously facing there. So we'll stick that guy on next. The other half of the flange bearing. And the pulley. The pulley has two grub screws in there to hold it on. They both need to be quite tight. You notice they're 90 degrees apart. That way you're not bracketing the shaft, or really, you should be getting a good solid fit. Now, make sure this spins freely, so you're not clamping it too much. Next step, we're going to take out the two screws from the Prusa Mini. The two in this extrusion here will be discarded. I always save all the mini parts just in case I want to go back, but they use fairly weak screws. Replace them with these bad boys. So these are going into the same screw holes. They're starting out all the way back here. Now I added a third screw hole. I thought maybe I would need to drill an extra hole to stiffen this. It hasn't proved necessary, so just basically ignoring it. We're only going to use the upper left and lower screw. Stick out plenty so that we can go through the Mini's rear plate. And this is screwing all the way into the aluminum extrusion. Slap the split spider on. Alignment check. That actually hitting itself. Looks pretty good. Now the motor is going to have two wires soldered to it. I'm not going to do the wiring of the motor yet. That's the next step. The motor fits in a pocket here. There we go. Let me show you what we're on about. So the motor has these tensioning slots. So you're going to start the motor here, and then you can tension it up or down. So we're going to stick in some screws. The motor is fairly snug in, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but do want it mounted solidly. So two M3 by 12 screws to get the motor installed. So it looks basically like that. I have that as the tensioning system. Put the M3 pulley on. Do have some M3 probe screws. On the 40 tooth pulley, it's an M4. On the 20 tooth, it's an M3. First grub screw, make sure you're on the flat of the motor. Once the pulley's in, you can see we get increased tension on the bed by rotating the motor. Basically just rotate the motor by hand until it's reasonably tight, and then tighten the screws inside. And I always use two here, because I've always found that the third one is blocked by the pulley itself. It's more important that the pulley can turn smoothly. So you have a motor to a 20 tooth pulley, trying a 40 tooth pulley, going through a nice stiffener, so that we have the split spider. So we're going to glue these on with just a tiny dab of silicone. Don't have any on hand now. That should be a relatively loose fit. With the silicone you can pry them off, clean off the lugs, and install a different split spider down the line. Once that's in place, should we get those lined up? And that is the quick mechanical install. Not going to throw a print on for you because this is sort of a quick intermediate step. The next step is wiring up the motor and adding the micro switch so that we can actually drive it. We'll do a test print after that. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy printing.